Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So Dylan Mulvaney hits out at Bud Light. He calls them out finally. A few weeks ago, I think it was last month, Dylan was on a podcast and was talking about being more selective with partnerships in the future. And a lot of people took that as Dylan throwing shade at Bud Light. But now Dylan is speaking out, being very explicit and talking about the situation. So I'm going to react to a video, and then Bud Light have actually responded. So let's take a look.
One thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer, because I love beer and I always have.
I wonder why. So I don't think Dylan is drinking a Bud Light there. Just want to put that out there.
I built my platform on being honest with you, and what I'm about to tell you might sound like old news, but you know that feeling when you have something uncomfy like sitting on your chest? Well, that's how I feel right now. So this feels like the right thing to do. I took a brand deal with a company that I loved, and I posted a sponsored video to my page. And it must have been a slow news week, because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major. But no, it was just an Instagram video.
And just one can, as the Bud Light CEO keeps reminding us.
And the wildest part is that they also sent me one can with my face on it. You might have seen it. And funny story, I had the can around my house, but then I realized, wait, I need to protect this can. So I hid it somewhere, and now I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind bulletproof glass. And you might be thinking, Dylan, why bring it up now? I'm bringing it up because what transpired from that video was more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. And I should have made this video months ago, but I didn't. And I was scared, and I was scared of more backlash, and I felt personally guilty for what transpired. So I patiently waited for things to get better. But surprise, they haven't really. And I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did.
Okay, so Bud Light didn't reach out to Dylan, and things have continued to get worse. They've lost, 28 billion now? Yeah, things have not gotten better because we're boycotting Bud Light because of the Dylan Mulvaney partnership. People are fed up with this trans agenda being shoved down their throats. It was not that long after the Nashville shooting. Dylan was everywhere and being sponsored by brands that are specific to women, such as modeling sports bras for Nike and Tampax and native deodorant and things of that nature. Maybelline. People are noticing that this is part of the whole replacing biological women. Within an instant, we can have a man in the place of a woman. Long as he dresses like a woman, acts like a woman, caricatures a woman, we'll have them in your place. Deals that could have gone to a woman, to a female model. But instead, in the aim of pushing this agenda and pushing this whole woke ideology onto us, they're choosing males over females. Another form of misogyny. And of course, Bud Light decided to partner with somebody to reward somebody for caricaturing women, for essentially doing the whole woman face thing, appropriating womanhood, appropriating women's spaces and things that pertain to women, that are exclusive to women. Many people consider Dylan to be doing that. So a company like Bud Light, which is, a masculine brand, a brand that was considered masculine, to put Dylan's face on the can made no sense. And it was like they were going out of their way just to virtual signal, just to say we're part of this woke agenda. Look at us, look what we're doing. They went out of their way to do that because it made no sense. And then, of course, apparently this is a brand that Dylan has loved for a long time. Okay. Then Dylan did the whole bimbo act, saying that he knew nothing about March Madness. So that made people question, why are you choosing Dylan, to represent your brand during March Madness?
And for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have been ridiculed in public. I've been followed. And I have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm not telling you this because I want your pity. I am telling you this because if this is my experience from a very privileged perspective, know that it is much, much worse for other trans people.
Here we go with the playing victim. The biggest victim throughout this is Bud Light. The most privileged community, by the way, because they get special preferential treatment. Their rights supersede that of everybody else's, including biological women. Before you start feeling sorry for Dylan, think about the women who lost brand deals because they rather work with a biological male. Think about the girls in sports who have to deal with competing against biological males. And they're told that what they feel doesn't matter. Their concerns don't matter. In fact, it's dangerous if you have concerns. So, just remember all the people who are being disenfranchised because of this whole gender ideology and woke agenda being shoved down our throats. I wouldn't want any harm to come to anybody over this. That obviously is going too far. We don't wish harm on anybody. All we did was just boycott a brand that we don't like. I've not seen anybody talk about harassing Dylan and people came for Bud Light. When we go on Dylan's page, I'm not seeing hateful comments upon hateful comments over the Bud Light situation. All of that is being directed towards Bud Light. They're the big brand, I'm sure they can handle it. I'm seeing a lot of comments being directed towards them. And just remember, the main thing that people have done is simply stop buying a beer. That's it. And we're seeing the repercussions of that. Their stock is suffering, their sales are suffering.
For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want. And the hate...
I'm sorry. Deciding to no longer purchase a beer is not transphobic. Deciding to no longer support a brand because the values of that brand are not in line with your values is not transphobic.
Doesn't end with me. It has serious and grave consequences for the rest of our community. And we're customers too. I know a lot of trans and queer people who love beer, and I have some lesbian friends who could drink some of those haters under the table. But to turn a blind eye and pretend everything is okay, it just isn't an option right now. And you might say, but Dylan, I don't want to get political. Babe, supporting trans people, it shouldn't be political. There should be nothing controversial or divisive about working with us. And I know it's possible because I've worked with some fantastic companies who care, but caring about the LGBTQ plus community requires a lot more than just a donation somewhere during Pride Month.
It absolutely is political because it's being shoved down our throats by politicians who are supposed to look out for the interests of everybody, not just one particular community. It's affecting our legislation. Legislation, by the way, that was actually designed to protect women. That legislation is also being affected by this whole agenda. So yes, it absolutely is political, and Bud Light shouldn't have got involved in politics. This is affecting our schools as well. Our school boards are pushing this onto our children. And the only way that we know to fight it is to go to school board meetings, is to lobby our politicians. So absolutely it's political because it affects our children. It affects women's rights, women's protection, the protection of our children. It affects all of those things. So we have to fight it through our legislation. We had a rainbow flag flying over the White House. That is absolutely political. And we had people showing their breasts to everybody as well on the White House lawn.
And all this to say, bottom line is that if you follow me, if I've made you smile, if you care about me, I need you to care about every trans person. And I need you to support us, and I need you to stand by us. And hey, it's still Pride Month. So I'm going to...
Yeah, many people are happy to see the back of Pride Month. A whole month. And we've seen the images that have come out of Pride Month. Images with children that are very, very disturbing.
Celebrate being alive. And I'm going to celebrate the trans people in my life and the ones I haven't met yet. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that no matter how many thousands of horrible messages or news anchors misgendering me or companies going silent, that I can look in the mirror and see the woman that I am and that I love being. And I know you were probably here for the tea of it all, but I would love for something productive to come from this. So there is a link in my bio to the Trans Law Center, who is doing some wonderful work if you have the means to donate. And to the good people out there, I love ya. I really do. And cheers, but only if you're of legal drinking age. Okay, I love you. Bye.
Interesting. You can't drink till you're 21, but you can be put on puberty blockers and confine yourself to a micro penis and infertility and things of that nature way before the age of 21. Just thought I'd put that out there. And by the way, Dylan still hasn't done the surgery or anything like that. Dylan is taking Dylan's time, and that's fine. But let's extend that same courtesy to our children and let them have the opportunity to think about what they're doing, to have true informed consent before having certain procedures. How about that? So Anheuser-Busch didn't call them out for their lack of support. They didn't reach out. They didn't reaffirm Dylan. And people from the LGBTQ community noticed that. And at one point, they were being boycotted from both sides. We saw the backlash that Bud Light faced, on social media. I mean, they barely tweet now. They tweet every couple of months, apparently. YouTube comments have been turned off. So the brand is dealing with all of that. And they didn't reach out to Dylan to make sure everything was okay. Well, to be fair, we did see Dylan continue, after that little time of laying low for a bit. We have seen Dylan continue to do brand deals and continue to do TikTok and, make an appearance. So maybe they just saw that and figured Dylan's okay. Anheuser-Busch issued a response to Dylan Mulvaney after the transgender influencer alleged the beer giant never reached out during the backlash over their controversial partnership. In an Instagram post Thursday, Mulvaney, who identifies as female, described the torrent of online bullying and transphobia that endured after Bud Light put Mulvaney's face on a customized beer can. I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did, the TikTok star said. For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want, Mulvaney said. Anheuser-Busch did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The company has issued a generic statement to multiple outlets pledging its support for the LGBTQ+ community without mentioning Mulvaney by name. As we've said, we remain committed to the programs and partnerships we have forged over decades with organisations across a number of communities, including those in the LGBTQ+ community, an Anheuser-Busch spokesperson said. The privacy and safety of our employees and our partners is always our top priority. As we move forward, we will focus on what we do best, brewing great beer for everyone and earning our place in moments that matter to our consumers. So as of now, Bud Light sales are down 24.4%, and they have lost their number one selling beer brand status. Apparently, though, they still remain the number one brewery. Sales of Coors Light have increased by 25.8%, Miller Lite by 21.4% over the same period. And Anheuser-Busch InBev stock has declined by 17% since March, where it had peaked. So do you think Bud Light should have reached out to Dylan? Do you think Dylan has a point there? If people were going to harass people or harass a particular group, they would just do that. They wouldn't need to do a boycott, to retaliate. They would just respond with harassment. But people instead have decided to let their money do the talking and not buy the brand anymore. From what I gather, that's not harassment. That's just no longer supporting a brand. And that's it. All I've seen is Dylan being given more sponsorship, being rewarded and being invited here and there and continuing to, live the life that Dylan wants to live. A very privileged life, as Dylan would admit. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, and I'm not saying it's right. But generally, you know, throughout that video, there was a lot of victim playing, but it doesn't line up when you take a look around. That's what I'm saying. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.